A man lived in America for over 25 years, raised his children here, paid his taxes, contributed to his community, and believed he was finally home. Then one morning, federal agents knocked on his door with documents that would change everything. His citizenship was being revoked. Everything he had built, every right he thought was permanent, every promise he believed the government had made to him, was about to disappear. This isn't a hypothetical scenario or a cautionary tale from decades past. This is happening right now to real people across America, and the mechanisms that allow it to happen are far more complex and far-reaching than most citizens realize. What you're about to discover will fundamentally challenge your understanding of citizenship security in the United States. Whether you're a naturalized citizen, someone born on American soil, or currently navigating the immigration system, understanding these legal realities could be the difference between a secure future and losing everything you've worked for. Before we go further, make sure you're subscribed to U.S. Visa and Immigration Guide and notifications are turned on so you never miss critical updates like this. Your support helps us continue bringing you the most important immigration information you need to know. The case that's making headlines involves a naturalized citizen who went through every legal step required by the United States government. He applied for a green card, waited years for approval, maintained lawful status, passed background checks, attended his naturalization interview, answered every question, took the oath of allegiance, and received his certificate of citizenship. For more than 2 decades, he lived as an American. He voted in elections, obtained a United States passport, traveled freely, and exercised all the rights that come with citizenship. Then, the Department of Justice filed a denaturalization lawsuit in federal court, and everything changed. The government's claims centered on allegations that he had misrepresented facts during his original immigration application, years before naturalization. Specifically, investigators alleged that he failed to disclose a previous marriage and provided false information about his travel history when applying for permanent residency. These weren't violent crimes or terrorism charges or war crimes. These were paperwork discrepancies from decades ago that the government discovered through cross-referencing databases and conducting retrospective audits of historical immigration files. The man maintained that any errors were honest mistakes, misunderstandings about what information was required, or failures in translation during interviews conducted in his non-native language. His attorneys argued that he had no intent to deceive and that the omissions were not material to his eligibility. None of it mattered. After months of legal proceedings, testimony, document review, and arguments in federal district court, the judge ruled in favor of the government. The citizenship that had been granted 25 years earlier was revoked. The court determined that material misrepresentations had occurred during the immigration process, and that under federal law, this fraud, even if discovered decades later, provided sufficient grounds for denaturalization. The decision was final. His passport was immediately revoked and had to be surrendered to federal authorities. His voter registration was canceled. His legal status to remain in the United States vanished instantly. He did not revert to being a green card holder or any other lawful status. Instead, he became classified as a removable alien, subject to deportation proceedings. The man who had lived, worked, and raised his family in America for a quarter century suddenly faced removal to a country he had left behind long ago, a country where he no longer had strong ties, where his children had never lived, where his life had moved on decades earlier. This case is not an isolated incident. It represents a growing trend in immigration enforcement that has accelerated significantly in recent years. The Department of Justice maintains a specialized denaturalization section staffed with attorneys, investigators, and analysts whose sole focus is identifying and prosecuting citizenship fraud cases. This operation uses sophisticated technology, including biometric database cross-referencing, artificial intelligence algorithms that scan millions of historical records for inconsistencies, and international cooperation with foreign law enforcement agencies. When the system flags a potential case, investigators conduct thorough reviews that can span months or years, gathering evidence, interviewing witnesses, and building cases for federal court. The legal standard required for denaturalization is clear and convincing evidence. which is higher than the preponderance of evidence standard used in most civil cases, but lower than the beyond a reasonable doubt standard required in criminal prosecutions. Once the government meets this burden and a federal judge orders denaturalization, the consequences are immediate, comprehensive, and permanent. There is no grace period, no transition time, no opportunity to reapply immediately. Citizenship is gone, and with it goes every right and protection that status provided. What makes cases like this particularly troubling for many in immigrant communities is the retroactive nature of enforcement. Someone can live lawfully for decades, believe their status is secure, build an entire life around that security, and then suddenly face the destruction of everything based on actions or omissions from their distant past. The fear this creates extends far beyond those directly affected. Millions of naturalized citizens across America now wonder whether mistakes they made years ago, questions they misunderstood during interviews, forms they filled out incorrectly, or facts they failed to disclose might someday trigger the same process. This uncertainty fundamentally undermines the sense of permanence and security that citizenship is supposed to provide. The government's position is straightforward and legally sound. Citizenship obtained through fraud is not valid citizenship, regardless of how much time has passed. If someone lied, misrepresented facts, or concealed material information to obtain immigration benefits or citizenship, that fraud corrupts the entire process and justifies revocation. From this perspective, there is no statute of limitations on fraud. If you cheated the system even decades ago, you should not benefit from that fraud indefinitely. The integrity of the immigration system depends on honest applications and truthful disclosure. Allowing fraudulently obtained citizenship to stand simply because time has passed would reward deception and encourage others to lie, knowing they might avoid consequences if enough years elapse. The opposing perspective emphasizes the human cost of these decisions and questions whether decades-old paperwork errors should result in life-destroying consequences for people who have otherwise been law-abiding, productive members of society. When someone has lived in America for 25 years, raised children who are American citizens, paid taxes, contributed to their communities, and fully integrated into American life, does it serve justice or American interests to deport them over application errors from their distant past? Critics argue that the punishment is disproportionate to the offense, especially in cases involving non-violent discrepancies rather than serious crimes. They point out that immigration applications are complex, often conducted in non-native languages, and that honest mistakes are inevitable. The fear of denaturalization, they argue, creates a permanent underclass of naturalized citizens who can never fully feel secure in their status. Understanding these legal realities is essential for anyone connected to the immigration system. If you're currently going through the naturalization process, absolute honesty and complete accuracy on every form and in every interview is not optional. Even small misrepresentations or omissions can become grounds for denaturalization decades later. If you're unsure about any question, consult with an experienced immigration attorney before proceeding. If you're already a naturalized citizen and concerned about something in your past, speaking with an attorney now is far better than waiting for the government to discover it. If you're a family member of a naturalized citizen, understanding these vulnerabilities helps you support your loved ones and recognize potential risks. The case of the man who lost his citizenship after 25 years is a stark reminder that naturalized citizenship, while powerful and valuable, exists within a legal framework that allows revocation under specific circumstances. The government has resources, technology, and legal authority to investigate historical immigration files and prosecute fraud cases, regardless of how much time has passed. For millions of naturalized Americans, this reality creates a fundamental insecurity that natural-born citizens never experience. Whether you view this as necessary enforcement of immigration law or as unjust destruction of lives built over decades, the legal mechanisms exist and are being actively used. Knowledge of these realities is the first step toward protecting yourself and understanding the true nature of citizenship in America today. If you found this information valuable, make sure to like this video, subscribe for updates, and share this with anyone who needs to understand these critical issues. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay informed about the laws that shape your future.